Programmes for the Open University will begin shortly. This is the Open University. We begin with a programme for students taking the second-level course in genetics, and it's concerned with the origin of the science of genetics. We end this evening's programmes for Open University students with one for the third-level course on the nature of chemistry. In 1890, a young German chemist, Hermann Sachse, proposed that cyclohexane existed in forms in which the ring was puckered, the boat and chair forms. This programme examines why it took over 50 years before those ideas, with their implications of the importance of three-dimensional structure and the dynamic nature of these structures, were accepted by chemists in general.
The great symbol of organic chemistry is the tetrahedron.
The tailings are mainly waste limestone and bits of ores that couldn't be separated out. They still contain about 1 or 2% of metal sulfides. They're pumped into this pond as a sludge, and this is where they stay. Any tailings are a problem. They take up agricultural land, but more troublesome is the fact that the water contains significant levels of lead and is therefore toxic, and must never get into rivers or drinking supplies. There isn't a lead or zinc smelter in Ireland, so the concentrates are taken by road to the harbour at Galway, about 30 kilometres west of Tina. Ships call every few weeks to carry it overseas, to the smelters and processing plants in Germany and Belgium. At least Ireland is spared the pollution problems that go with this stage of the operation, but it does mean that it loses the profits, the employment, and the added value that a metal industry could bring to Ireland.
Our next programme is for the Open University's course in genetics. Many biologists are nowadays turning away from a study of the fundamental problems of heredity to tackle other outstanding biological problems which exist at higher levels of complexity. This program illustrates some of the latest attempts being made to solve such problems as development and behavior. Our next program today is for the course Cognitive Development, Language and Thinking from Birth to Adolescence. It looks at the thinking behind the design of toys for young children.
EPI started approximately 10 years ago, and it was started by a very small group of behavioral scientists and designers looking into the question of whether mixing information and skills and methods that were peculiar to these two disciplines might produce a higher quality of education, play, products that would make a contribution to children's development.
Programs for the Open University will begin shortly at 10 to 5. This is the Open University. Our broadcast this evening begins with a program for the second level and associate student course on genetics. It shows how it's been possible, using techniques of genetic analysis, to locate the genes on a bacterial chromosome to produce a gene map. It also turns out that this map is circular, and that this circularity coincides with the physical circularity of the chromosome itself. The program ends with a demonstration of the techniques associated with one of the students' home experiments on a fungus. That program for the second level and associate student course on genetics will be shown again on Saturday morning at 11:25 here on BBC Two. Meanwhile, Friday's radio programme for this course will be about genes, chromosomes and crossovers, and you can hear it on Friday morning at 6 o'clock on Radio 3 VHF. Now, before our next programme, a reminder that this weekend sees the start of our series of open lectures. In the first of these, Professor Brian Grumbridge reviews the progress of adult education and its future prospects. And that's on Sunday morning at 11:25 here on BBC Two. We continue this broadcast for the Open University with a programme for the third level course on the nature of chemistry. In today's programme, Dr. Roger Hill and Dr. Richard Taylor review the types of stereoisomerism commonly encountered in the study of chemical compounds.
This is the Open University. We begin with a programme for the second level and associate student genetics course. It shows how human sickle cell disease can be traced to a minute chemical change or mutation in the structure of the hereditary material DNA. The programme also illustrates mutants of the fruit fly Drosophila and their value to genetical research. Well, that programme for the genetics course will be shown again on Saturday morning at 11:25 here on BBC Two. Meanwhile, Friday's radio programme for this course will be about genetic disease in man. You can hear that at 6 o'clock on Friday morning on Radio 3 VHF. Well, now we've got some information for viewers who are not registered students of the Open University. If you're willing to study at home in your spare time, the university provides a unique opportunity to continue your education and achieve a BA degree. If you live in the United Kingdom, you can apply for registration for foundation courses starting in 1981 by writing to this address: the Admissions Office, the Open University, Post Office Box 48, Milton Keynes, MK7 6AB. And as we have a moment or two in hand, I'll leave that on the screen for just a little longer if you'd like to write it down. Could you write on a postcard, please, and you'll be sent a guide for applicants, quite free of charge, together with an application form. Now, this book is designed to explain what the university has to offer and how it works, and you're advised to read it thoroughly before you fill in the application form. The closing date to apply for a place in 1981 is the 31st of May, so you should write as soon as possible. And here's that address, just once again: the Admissions Office, the Open University, Post Office Box 48, Milton Keynes, MK7 6AB. The next programme for the Open University, a programme for the third level course on the nature of chemistry, follows in just under 2 minutes. We end this broadcast for the Open University with a programme for the third level course on the nature of chemistry. In today's programme, an analysis of the relative stabilities of the conformations of cyclohexane and substituted cyclohexanes is developed to show how conformational analysis may be used to predict the chemistry of complex structures containing these rings. To conclude the programme, Professor Sir Derek Barton describes the conformational analysis of steroid compounds, work for which he was awarded the 1969 Nobel Prize for Chemistry.
If he gets a chance, take the... well, he's not going to have a chance. Well, he's not quite as good as Dennis Taylor is left-handed, but he's quite useful. Too late to make any difference. Jim Meadowcroft concedes. Virgo leads by 9 frames to 2 and is within 1 frame of victory.
So that match finishing very nicely just as we come to the end of our afternoon transmission here in the Crucible. Remember, 3 programmes tonight, but if you've just come in for your omelette and chips, let me bring you up to date with the scores and all the other matches that have been played here today. There's Jim Witch, the young Canadian, in his first championship, and he's leading John Pullman, the old master of the 50s and 60s, 5-4, and Cliff Wilson, the former amateur champion, leading Doug Mountjoy, 5-4. Both of those matches played to a conclusion tonight. And just confirmation of the matches we've been watching live, updated there, John Virgo a frame away from victory. Kirk Stevens leads Graham Miles 8-2. There all is, back with more snooker here tonight on BBC Two at 6:55, frame of the day.
Well, as David Vine just said, we will be returning at 6:55, except for viewers in Scotland who join the programme at 7:05. This is followed by the mid-evening news, and then in Chronicle at 7:40, John Julius Norwich relates the extraordinary history of the first black republic in the world, Haiti, founded by a former slave known as Black Napoleon. The passionate love story of Pandora and the Flying Dutchman is midweek cinema at 8:30, starring James Mason and Ava Gardner. There's more snooker at 10:30, as you heard, followed by Newsnight at 10:45, and then the last visit of the day to Sheffield is at 11:30. Programmes this evening here on BBC Two.
welcome viewers to the Open University. And we begin with the programme for the genetics course, and it's about attempts made in the 20th century to answer the question, what is a gene?
'60 is such an exciting time for molecular biologists.
Well, their programme was for the genetics course, and you can hear an associated radio programme on Friday morning at 6 o'clock on Radio 3 VHF. Well, now we have a programme for the third level course on the nature of chemistry, in which Professor Haynes continues his investigation into the research techniques available for studying the stereochemistry of a chemical reaction.
In this programme, we're going to look at the bromination of 3-methyl-cyclohexanone. We're going to use this molecule, and we're going to use one of the enantiomeric forms. That is, we're going to use resolved 3-methyl-cyclohexanone for the bromination reaction. Well, let's just look and see how that reaction goes.